Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. Namaskar, I'm Mark Lynn. Coming up in the next hour. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar holds wide-ranging talks with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov in Moscow. They review progress across bilateral ties. Russia warns Japan over providing Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. The Russian Foreign Ministry says that it will have grave consequences for Russia and Japanese ties. The Indian Cabinet has approved the opening up of a Consulate General of India in New Zealand's Auckland, likely to be opened and fully operationalized within 12 months. And world stock markets sailed to the highest in over a year on the US Fed rate cut hopes, and India among the top 10 best performing stock markets in the world this year. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar held wide-ranging talks with his Russian counterpart Lavrov in Moscow. The two sides reviewed progress in economic, energy, connectivity, military technical cooperation, people-to-people exchanges. They also signed a protocol on consultations for the period of 2024 to 2028. Dr. Jaishankar posted on X that India-Russia relations reflect geopolitical realities, strategic convergence, and also mutual benefit. Here's the report.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar deliberated on bilateral affairs with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow on Wednesday. They talked about expanding cooperation in the Russian Far East and long-term agreements for energy and coking coal. They also discussed a potential bilateral investment treaty and industrial zone infrastructure.
India-Russia relations remain very steady, remain very strong. They are based on our strategic convergence, on our geopolitical interests, and because they are mutually beneficial. We appreciated the fact that our trade is at an all-time high. We have crossed $50 billion turnover last year. We expect to exceed that this year.
The two leaders, who have met regularly over the year, also discussed the conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza and issues related to groups such as BRICS. India is looking to expand trade with the Moscow-led Eurasian Economic Union, for which an FTA is being considered. On the nuclear cooperation front, the two countries decided to take the Kudankulam project forward. Jaishankar conveyed India's interest in enhancing its polar exploration capabilities. He also urged more Russian tourists to come to India. Both sides see the international north-south transport corridor as important for the world. The INSTC is a 7,200-kilometer long, multi-mode network of ship, rail and road between Moscow and Mumbai. It is seen as an alternative to the Suez Canal.
We have paid special attention to the matters of building up practical cooperation. In addition to the agreements that had been reached yesterday, as part of the session of the Intergovernmental Commission, today we have agreed upon a number of steps that would allow us to expand cooperation, including in the context of the upcoming launch of the North-South International Transport Corridor.
Lavrov clarified that the global north is usually associated with the G7, but now BRICS has developed a growing influence. On Russian sanctions, he was critical of the West, saying they have destroyed globalization, a system they had first created. Jaishankar described Russia as a valuable partner. Lavrov praised India's leadership for being balanced, which is visible in the Delhi G20 communique. Indian-Russian trade is expected to top $50 billion this year. India and Russia share a special and privileged strategic partnership. Bureau Report, DD India.
And DD India's correspondent Dasha Chernyshova now joins us from Moscow with an update. Dasha, what are the key interests that both countries have in the Russian Far East?
Well, obviously, as we have heard from the foreign ministers of both countries, trade turnover is growing, and for that trade to grow even faster, it is required to have more alternative trade routes. And as we understand that both India and Russia are interested in exploring the possibility of using new transport corridors such as the Northern Sea route, as well as the Eastern Maritime Corridor between Vladivostok and Chennai, in order to widen the scope of their maritime cooperation. So certainly we understand that in the Far East this is one of the priorities, but also if you look at the Russian development plan for the Russian Far East, it does need foreign investment, and India could be the country that will be investing more into the development of Russia's Far East. That could be of potential interest to the Indian side. But for Russia it is also very important because Russia has changed the direction of its partnership, being cut off the Western partners, not dealing more with the Western countries that Moscow now calls unfriendly states, and developing new and closer relations with the other countries. We also understand that Jaishankar in Moscow will be meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. That will be the meeting is to be held later on Wednesday.
Indeed. Also, India has expressed interest in an FTA with the Eurasian Economic Union. What is the potential of this market?
Well, that's right. We understand that the work on this free trade agreement will be started in January 2024. The free trade agreement between India and the Eurasian Economic Union is something that will allow to grow the trade turnover between Russia and India and between other members of the Eurasian Economic Union even faster. The idea here is that the tariffs on the number of products will be reduced, and that will allow the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union and India to have more relationship when it comes to trade, to save more money on the tariffs. That is particularly important for the businessmen who are doing who are establishing trade relationship. We also understand that a similar agreement has been made with Iran, and certainly it is expected to provide further for the creation of more logistical routes that will be required for the growing trade turnover. So if you have this FTA between the Eurasian Economic Union and India, that means that further development of infrastructure will follow.
Dasha Chernyshova, thanks very much. India's current account deficit for the September quarter shrunk to $8.3 billion, around 1% of GDP, which is a marked improvement from a year ago. The improvement in current account is due to the significant reduction in goods trade deficit. Take a look at DD India's Aman Kumar Himanshu's report.
India's current account deficit narrowed in the July-September quarter of the current financial year due to a low merchandise trade deficit and an increase in services exports. Current account deficit is the difference between exports and imports of goods and services. It's a key indicator of country's external sector. According to the Reserve Bank of India, the current account deficit recorded a deficit of $8.3 billion, coming in at 1% of GDP in second quarter of 2023-24 compared to 1.1% of GDP in the preceding quarter. The current account deficit had been at $30.9 billion or 3.8% of GDP in the same quarter a year ago. Reserve Bank of India on Tuesday said in a press release that deadline is largely due to a narrowing of the merchandise trade deficit from $78.3 billion in second quarter of fiscal year 2022-23 to $61 billion in same period last year. And services exports grew by 4.2% on a year-on-year basis on the back of rising exports of software, business and travel services. Net services receipts increased both sequentially and on a year-on-year basis. In the financial account, net foreign direct investment witnessed an outflow of $0.3 billion as against an inflow of $6.2 billion in second quarter of fiscal year 2022-23, and external commercial borrowings recorded an outflow of $1.8 billion in second quarter of 2023-24. In recent years, India had boosted exports and is working continuously on curbing non-essential imports. By this, India's external sector has displayed strength in spite of global headwinds. Aman Kumar Himanshu reports for DT India.
Well, India ranks third with 72 unicorns valued at $195.75 billion. India is emerging as an epicenter, in fact, of innovation and economic transformation. Here's Tapas Bhattacharya with the report.
India is scripting a narrative of economic resurgence like never before. Join me as we unravel India's startup success story and how it's impacting the whole world in this special report. In the heart of innovation, India emerges as a powerhouse, charting an economic trajectory that rivals the best. Fueling this economic accent is India's dynamic startup ecosystem, a breeding ground for unicorns. Over 112,000 startups have come up since 2014, propelling the nation into a global hub of ideas and cutting-edge technologies. As India transitions from service-oriented to a beacon of product innovation, its GDP is poised to surge 5 to 10% by 2030. A surge fueled by rising household incomes expected to reach new heights, with 50% of households projected to earn over $6,000 by 2030. The startup ecosystem, a catalyst for this transformation, has burgeoned with more than 100,000 startups since 2014, turning the nation into a hotbed of ideas and groundbreaking technologies. Over 23 million households are expected to earn more than $12,000, further contributing to economic growth. Tier 2 cities are becoming tech hubs, fostering the innovation beyond traditional landscapes. Government initiatives like Startup India have nurtured over 114,000 startups, creating over 1.2 million jobs.
The success of Bharat in the global startup ranking reflects a transformation from a mindset of uncertainty to the possibility. Now you can experience a journey from it can't be to it can be. And thank you Bharat Sarkar, thank you Sri Modi ji. And because of that, now we can dare to be a Vyapari from Karmachari.
ये साल 2023 आईटी इंडस्ट्री और स्टार्टअप के नज़रिए से हम एक बेहतर साल कह सकते हैं, क्योंकि कोविड के बाद जो सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट आया था वो छोटे और जो स्टार्टअप की जो कंपनियां थी ये सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट हुई थी. बट थैंक्स टू इंडियन गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज़ एंड स्पेशली थैंक्स टू मोदी जी, जिन्होंने समय रहते ही बहुत बेहतरीन पॉलिसीज़ बनाई और उसको अप्लाई भी किया.
1,300 new tech startups coming up in 2019 alone. Women entrepreneurs play a crucial role, constituting 14% of the startup ecosystem, marking a significant increase from the previous years. With a consistent annual growth of 12 to 15%, the startup surge is reshaping economic landscapes. The stage is set for a new era of progress, innovation, and economic prowess, with Indian startups at the forefront of shaping the nation's destiny. Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
And still to come here on DD India News Hour. Prime Minister Modi is now the most popular leader on YouTube. India's Defence Minister visits the border areas in Jammu and Kashmir. The Vixit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, which resolves to make India a developed country, journeys on.
Sir, try berry pulao. Too good. Good, no? Hey, why are you giving him such looks? Ignore tips and use your own mind before you order. Lots of people give unsolicited stock tips. It can be dangerous. Study the company and the risk associated. Invest only after analysis.
Do you know there's an investor protection fund for investors, IPF, but if your trade isn't executed on the exchange or if it's some guaranteed return scheme, then even IPF will not be able to help you.
And what if your broker becomes a defaulter? Then?
In that case, IPF can provide you with compensation.
Where did you learn this?
NSE's website.
सोच कर, समझ कर, invest कर.
News Hour, I'm Mark Lynn. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been popular across all social media platforms. Now Prime Minister Modi has the highest number of YouTube subscribers among any leader in the world. And his YouTube channel has now more than 20 million subscribers and 4.5 billion views. Amish Mahajan reports.
In a remarkable feat, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's YouTube channel has crossed 20 million subscribers. PM Modi is the only world leader to have achieved this distinction, having 20 million subscribers on his personal YouTube channel. With 4.5 billion views, Narendra Modi channel leads the pack in terms of subscribers, video views and quality of videos being posted by political leaders on YouTube. For many years running now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the most popular global leader with upwards of 75% approval rating. The global leader with the second highest followers count is former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, who just has 6.4 million subscribers. Similarly, with 22 million views in December 2023, Narendra Modi YouTube channel has 43 times more views than YouTube channel of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
He's the first and only leader to have achieved that distinction of having 2 crore subscribers. And what are the views? 450 crores, that is 4.5 billion video views on his channel. That shows the kind of popularity, the kind of traction, the kind of connect Prime Minister Modi has, irrespective of age, irrespective of geography. He is able to connect with the masses.
A key driver behind PM Modi's rising popularity is his exceptional ability to connect with the masses. Regular interactions with people from all walks of life, including men, women, students, defense personnel and sports players, showcase his commitment to engaging with the diverse population of the country. Recently, PM Modi interacted with female beneficiaries of PM Ujjwala and PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, shedding light on the positive impact of these schemes on their lives. Such engagements contribute to a narrative of empowerment and improved quality of life.
मोदी जी ने हमको बहुत सुविधा दी है उज्ज्वला कनेक्शन देकर। इसमें पहले हम लोग बहुत बेबस लाचार थे। पहले जो है लकड़ी जल्दी नहीं मिलती थी, बच्चे रह जाते थे बिना खाए पिए। अब उज्ज्वला मिलने से हम लोग समय से खाना बन जाता है, साफ सफाई रहता है।
Demonstrating solidarity with the armed forces, PM Modi has consistently visited borders and celebrated Diwali with the country's brave hearts. These gestures resonate with the public, emphasizing his unwavering support for those serving on the front lines. Through initiatives like Pariksha Pe Charcha, where he interacts with students and parents before exams, PM Modi has gained popularity among the younger generation.
It was a great program in which Narendra Modi answered all of our questions regarding exam preparation and gave us tips on how to write exams very well.
His encouragement extends to the sports arena, with interactions with cricket and Asian Games athletes showcasing his support for the nation's sporting talent.
बिल्कुल काफ़ी अच्छा लगा पीएम सर से मिलके और श्योरली मेरे साथ साथ सभी एथलीट्स काफ़ी मोटिवेट हुए होंगे।
PM Modi's popularity extends beyond national borders, drawing massive crowds of the Indian diaspora whenever he travels abroad. The global admiration, as evidenced by chants of Modi, Modi, not only reflects his individual popularity but also enhances India's soft power on the international stage.
We are 4 crore people across the globe. PM Modi gives us a new identity. PM Modi calls us Rashtraduts, and we really feel proud.
Beyond YouTube, PM Modi is the most followed global leader on Instagram and X, with 82.7 million and 94 million followers. Prime Minister is the global leader with the fastest growing number of followers on his WhatsApp channel. There are 12.6 million WhatsApp channel followers. These figures prove that the Prime Minister is the tallest leader in the world today, and everyone in the world admires his personality. Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
Well, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Wednesday visited the border areas of Jammu and Kashmir. He took stock of the security situation there. The minister reviewed the security situation in the wake of a recent terrorist attack in Poonch district that left 4 soldiers martyred. Defence Minister said that every soldier is very important to us, and every soldier is like a member of the family, and we cannot tolerate anyone looking down on our soldiers and our countrymen.
मैं आपको आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि घटना की गंभीरता को देखते हुए जो भी आवश्यक और जो भी उचित कदम है वह उठाने की भरपूर कोशिश की जा रही है। हमारे लिए हर सैनिक बेहद महत्वपूर्ण है और हमारा एक सैनिक, मैं मानता हूं, वह हमारे परिवार के सदस्य के समान है। यह हम सब के अंदर यह भावना रहती है, सारे देशवासियों के अंदर यह भावना रहती है, और आपके ऊपर कोई नजर डाले तो सचमुच यह हम सबको कतई बर्दाश्त नहीं है।
India's cabinet has approved the opening of a Consulate General of India in New Zealand's Auckland. This will increase India's diplomatic footprint in view of India's increasing global engagement. The consulate will promote India's strategic and commercial interests and better serve the welfare of the Indian community in Auckland. The consulate will open and fully operationalize within the frame of 12 months. The Cabinet has also approved a proposal of the External Affairs Ministry. This is to sign and ratify the Migration and Mobility Agreement between India and Italy. This agreement will enhance people-to-people contacts. It will foster mobility of students, skilled workers, business people, as well as young professionals, and it's going to strengthen cooperation on issues related to irregular migration between the two countries. This agreement, it also locks in the current Italian visa regime, including mechanisms for post-study opportunities, internships, professional training, assuring any advantage for India under the existing labor mobility pathways under the Flows Decree. The Indian Cabinet has approved the signing of an MOU. This is for cooperation in broadcasting between the public sector broadcaster, the public broadcaster, Prasar Bharati, and Radio Television Malaysia. The MOU, which was signed on the 7th of November this year, it aims to promote cooperation in public broadcasting in the field of radio and television. And with this, the number of MOUs now signed by Prasar Bharati with different countries has increased to 46. India's Vixit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, it's a journey being undertaken across the country, and the aim is to attain saturation of flagship schemes of the Government of India by ensuring that the benefits of these schemes reach all the targeted beneficiaries in a time-bound manner. It's all about accountability. And the program featuring India's Prime Minister, his dialogue with beneficiaries, was broadcast to all the Gram Panchayats and urban areas of Bikaner district in Rajasthan on Wednesday. Special efforts were also made to ensure that the Prime Minister's message reached as many people as possible, including through the Rajasthan Language Literature Academy. That's the Mullidhar Vyas colony. What's happened is that the camps, they were set up at Gram Panchayats, and they facilitate the smooth dissemination of the Prime Minister's message. And the district level programs also were organized at the Uday Ramsar, and this is in the city at the Literature Academy, where people had the opportunity to receive information about the central schemes. Still with the Vixit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, the van actually travelled through Kunaiyan, Gohalad and Surankot. These are panchayats in the Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, a large number of people welcomed the yatra or the journey, and they pledged to fulfill the Prime Minister's commitment to making India a developed country by 2047. And during this event, several beneficiaries also shared their success stories in the segment which is called Meri Kahani, Meri Zabani, or really talking about your own, the way these schemes have affected you personally. The US President Joe Biden has spoken to the Emir of Qatar. This happened in an effort to secure the release of all the hostages held by Hamas. Now, Qatar and Egypt, they were mediators between Israel and Hamas in the late November truce. In a statement, the White House has said that the leaders discussed the urgent effort required to secure the release of the remaining hostages held by Hamas, and also they are going to speak about ways to increase access to aid. The Israeli army has released videos on Wednesday showing on-the-ground air and naval strikes on Hamas targets in Gaza. The conflict intensified in the central area just south of the waterway that divides the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army warned civilians to leave the area. The Israeli military chief, Herzi Halevi, has said that the Israel-Hamas conflict, it's likely to go on for many months. Israel has vowed to defeat Hamas after its fighters infiltrated Israel's borders, towns, killing 1,200 people and also taking 240 Israelis hostage.
There are no magic solutions. There are no shortcuts in dismantling a terrorist organization. Only determined and persistent fighting will work, and we are very, very determined. We will reach Hamas's leadership too, whether it takes a week or if it takes months.
The United Nations has assigned Sigrid Kaag as the humanitarian coordinator. Now, her appointment follows last week's UN Security Council resolution calling for more aid to enter the Palestinian enclave. DD India's William Denslow reports now from New York.
As well as serving as Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister in the Netherlands, Sigrid Kaag has also performed a number of UN duties in the past, including Special Coordinator for Lebanon. Now, as of January 8th, she'll be taking on a new UN role, which is Humanitarian Relief Coordinator in Gaza. The United Nations describes her responsibilities, including her work to facilitate, coordinate, monitor and verify humanitarian relief consignments for Gaza. This is part of a UN Security Council resolution that was passed last week that calls for the urgent steps to be taken to immediately allow the safe, unhindered and expanded humanitarian access in Gaza. The resolution took days of diplomatic wranglings for Council members to find enough consensus to pass it. But critics say it's been watered down and diluted too much, no longer calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. UN aid agencies warn that the healthcare system in Gaza is on the brink of collapse, and other aid officials on the ground warn that a quarter of the population in the Palestinian enclave are facing catastrophic levels of hunger. Recently, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says that a ceasefire is the only way to end the nightmare people in Gaza are currently going through. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
Well, let's take a look now at other stories making the news around the world. In fact, Berlin's 23rd annual Roast Goose Digestion Run. It saw 200 runners get fit after holiday celebrations. The run traditionally, which is a 5-kilometer loop, is now a tradition for senior citizens. The co-organizer, Wolfgang Peach, praised the sunny day after heavy rain earlier, wearing Santa costumes and also mock goose. The wall of the historic Ganabakung Palace in South Korea's capital, Seoul, will be reopened to the public on January 4. The wall was vandalized with graffiti twice. The Cultural Heritage Administration said that the scroll is being erased now after undergoing post-work and also expert review. It announced plans for a comprehensive set of measures to prevent damage to cultural properties. Malaysia's Malacca city is preparing to dazzle visitors with an array of end-of-the-year festivities, including the Visit Malacca Year 2024. Now, the Malacca government, it is focusing on efforts to ensure the cleanliness as well as the beauty of 8 entry points in the state to welcome 18 million tourists and visitors. A private company has established a bakery in Afghanistan's Kandahar, which is run by women alone. Officials from the company say that they have created jobs for 20 women who are the only breadwinners of their families and are hoping to increase this number. Women have been particularly affected in the past 2 years amid the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the country. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. We're going to be discussing the India-Russia ties. The Russia-Ukraine crisis, they've been at it now for 672 days. Preparations near completion in the holy city of Ayodhya before the inauguration of the Grand Ram Temple.
Sir, try berry pulao. Too good. Good, no? Hey, why are you giving him such looks? Ignore tips and use your own mind before you order. Lots of people give unsolicited stock tips. It can be dangerous. Study the company and the risk associated. Invest only after analysis.
Do you know there's an investor protection fund for investors, IPF, but if your trade isn't executed on the exchange or if it's some guaranteed return scheme, then even IPF will not be able to help you.
And what if your broker becomes a defaulter? Then?
In that case, IPF can provide you with compensation.
Where did you learn this?
NSE's website.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar holds wide-ranging talks with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov in Moscow. They review progress across bilateral ties. Russia warns Japan over providing Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. The Russian Foreign Ministry says that it will have grave consequences for Russia-Japan ties. The Indian cabinet has approved the opening of a Consulate General. This is of India in New Zealand's Auckland. It's likely to be opened and fully operationalized within 12 months. Well, returning now to our main story on India's ties with Russia in the light of, the top diplomats of both countries meeting in Moscow, we have with us Professor Harshvardhan Pant, the Vice President of the Observer Research Foundation and a well-known strategic affairs expert, joining us now from Greater Noida, which is near Delhi. Thank you, Professor Pant. The ties have deepened, but, in the context of a multipolar world, what does this actually mean for India?
Mark, India-Russia ties, as we know, have been time-tested and they have been historical in nature. I think what in a world that is becoming multipolar, where different power centers are emerging across the system, it is very important for two countries that have always maintained a steady relationship to continue to be on this trajectory so that their own strategic autonomy can be expanded and enhanced. Both nations, and India in particular, for a very long time has been articulating a desire to have balanced relationships with all power centers, and therefore having a robust relationship with Russia allows India to leverage that relationship in the service of its other relationships, thereby expanding the ambit of its strategic autonomy. And I think that's why this visit by External Affairs Minister is so important, because for some time, and because Russia is so preoccupied with this war in Ukraine, there have been a number of questions about Russia's economic future, Russia's future as a defense supplier to India. And I think all those questions India has answered with this visit, with the kinds of agreements that we have signed, and with the kind of, and with the trajectory that we have defined for this relationship.
Indeed, Professor Pant, Lavrov said that they've discussed cooperation in military technology, including production of modern weaponry. There's an actual progress here, that's what he said. Now, is Russia actually offering co-production of advanced weapons in India?
See, I think Russia has been one of the countries that has traditionally been very, very receptive to ideas when it came to defense and industrial production here in India. And of course, we know that historically Russia has been very forthcoming when it comes to sharing defense technologies with India. So I think it's very natural that as India decides to expand its defense industrial manufacturing base, Russia should chip in. And I think at a time when almost all major powers want a pie of the Indian market, when almost all major powers are engaged with India on defense cooperation and defense production, when Americans themselves are loosening so many restrictions that they had created for decades vis-a-vis India, I think Russia has to reevaluate its options and go for the big ticket items, and therefore there is no reason why India-Russia defense ties should not move in the direction of co-production and co-development, and that particularly I think in the realm of critical and emerging technologies, which is the frontier of defense production at the moment. And I think this is the message that seems to be coming out of this visit, is that Russia is ready and Russia is willing to work with India. The question is, given the war in Ukraine, how long will it take Russia to come to the fore and take its defense relationship with India back to where it belonged, which was at the center of Russia's defense engagement with India.
Also, Professor Pant, trade crossed $50 billion. How important is, expanding economic cooperation and also the potential of an FTA with the Eurasian Economic Union?
Very important, and we know in today's world, the strategic relationships are primarily based on economic relationships, that how we engage and how substantive our economic engagement is with other nations defines the ambit of our strategic partnerships. And that is what we have seen, for example, in our other relationships. If you look at India's ties with Europe, with US, the reason why they are where they are today at a very high level is because the economic base of those relationships have expanded, and the economic base is quite substantive. And unfortunately with Russia, the challenge has been the economic relationship. Our defense relationship, our strategic convergence has been quite dramatic with Russia. As I was mentioning, this is a historically developed relationship in that sense. But post 1990s, when Soviet Union collapsed, and Russia has been trying to emerge as a potent economic power, unfortunately it has not succeeded, and that has resulted in constraints coming in insofar as India-Russia economic engagement is concerned. In recent years, we have seen energy becoming a very, very important part of that mix, and therefore the numbers are growing, and numbers are give us a sense of optimism. But it is equally true that unless we expand the base of our economic engagement, we will not be able to bring this relationship to meet the challenges of the century. And therefore, when we talk of FTA, that is a very important part with the of this component. FTA with Eurasian Economic Community is going to be a very, very important part of this engagement. And it's very heartening to see that that issue has been brought front and center in this engagement, and that both sides have talked about this. They've decided to make it a signal, point on the agenda, and one hopes that will be, that the talks are to begin early next year, and perhaps they will be culminated and they will be concluded as soon as possible.
Now, India's diaspora plays a huge role in most countries of the world. To what extent, is the diaspora actually helping the India-Russia relationship? Have people been willing to go and settle in Russia, for instance, and do business and, basically build on the relationship?
Mark, we have to acknowledge that our people-to-people ties, which used to be in some ways the center of our engagement during the days of Soviet Union, have not really expanded as much as the two nations would have liked. I mean, there are structural reasons for that. Most of our middle classes, for example, have started looking to the West post the 1990s as India liberalized, as India opened up, and the West opened up to India. And I think a lot of our middle classes for education, for professional services went there. And Russia has struggled with its economic, opening up and with its economic arrangements. But it is also true that Russia faces a demographic problem, that India can help Russia in that regard, that Russia has concerns in some parts of its territory where the demographic decline has been quite steep. And I think this perhaps a mobility arrangement of the kind that India is engaged with a number of other countries should be looked at in the context of Russia, where we have seen people-to-people ties not really matching up to our historical achievements. And therefore, the more student exchange programs, the more academic exchange programs, cultural exchange programs can be generated, we will see a new dynamic emerge. But I think a lot of that depends on the mood changing as far as Russia is concerned. If you have a country that is engaged in a big war, I think that also constrains the options of many, for example, students who may want to go to Russia and study would have second thoughts about it, at least because of the ground realities. So I think as things stabilize in Russia, as Russia stabilizes, perhaps this avenue opens up which can be exploited more than we have done in the past.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Harshvardhan Pant. Thank you for enlightening us on India-Russia ties. Now, moving on then, the Russia-Ukraine conflict is 672 days and counting. Deadly strikes between Russia and Ukraine continue as the counteroffensive intensifies. So 2 people were killed in Russia's latest drone attack on Wednesday as well.
A day after Russian defense minister said Ukrainian counteroffensive stopped, Ukraine's air defense shot down 32 out of 46 Russia-launched drones on Wednesday. Earlier, Russian forces shelled the railway station in southern Ukrainian city of Kherson. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also confirmed the attack and said that the number of casualties are still being ascertained.
There was a Russian strike on the Kherson railway station. There was an evacuation train. All services are now on site. The number of dead and injured is being established. There were many civilians there.
Earlier on Tuesday, Ukraine attacked the Crimean port of Fedosia, damaging a large Russian landing ship, killing 1 person and injuring 2 others.
A big assault carrier was destroyed, and it became a part of a fleet to which Moskva missile cruiser belongs.
Kyiv, which had used cruise missiles in the attack, did not specify its kinds, as both Britain and France have supplied Ukraine with such missiles. While Russia has hinted that it may try to seize more Ukrainian territory along the Black Sea coast, as Putin earlier this month said that Odessa, the headquarters of Ukraine's own navy, was a Russian city.
Well, the Russian Foreign Ministry has warned Japan over providing Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. The spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, said that if Japan decides, in fact, to hand over Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine, it's going to have grave consequences for Russia-Japan ties. In fact, Japan has also joined the Western allies, as we know, in imposing sweeping economic sanctions on Russia.
It is not excluded that the transfer of Patriot ammunition will involve the use of an already well-established scheme in which the munitions end up in Ukraine. Regarding that, we should like to warn that if Japanese missiles fall into the hands of Ukrainian armed forces, such actions will be regarded as hostile to the Russian Federation and will have grave consequences for Japan in the context of bilateral ties.
The consecration ceremony of Ram Lalla at the majestic new Ram Temple will commence on January 16th and conclude on January 22, 2024. Preparations are almost complete for the grand ceremony. The temple in the holy city of Ayodhya is a symbol of tradition meeting technology. Let's look at this report.
The magnificent Ram Temple in the Indian city of Ayodhya is almost ready. The consecration of Ram Lalla is scheduled to take place on the upcoming 22nd of January. Preparations are in full swing in Ayodhya. People are quite enthusiastic about its uniqueness and structure. On Wednesday, Champat Rai, the General Secretary of Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra, shared detailed information about the map of the Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Temple. He presented the entire temple map through a video. The Ram Temple is not only a symbol of grandeur, but also of Indian tradition and technology. There will be a total of 392 pillars in the temple complex. The temple's perimeter will extend up to 732 meters with a width of 14 feet. Additionally, 70% of the temple complex will have a green area. The temple's idol is placed in such a position that it will receive the sun's rays every Ram Navami in the afternoon.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक विचार दिया कि रामनवमी के दिन दोपहर को 12 बजे सूर्य की किरणें भगवान के ललाट को प्रकाशित करेंगे। राम सूर्य वंश में पैदा हुए, तो सूर्य अपने वंश में उत्पन्न राम को तिलक लगा रहे हैं। उसका नाम ही रखा है, प्रोजेक्ट का नाम सूर्य तिलक।
The consecration ceremony of Ram Lalla will commence on January 16th and conclude on January 22nd. Prior to the consecration of the Ram Temple, the inauguration of the Ayodhya airport is scheduled to take place. The Indian state of Uttar Pradesh's Deputy Chief Minister, Keshav Prasad Maurya, arrived in Ayodhya and inspected the airport and issued directives to the concerned officials. Ayodhya, revered as Lord Ram's birthplace, holds immense spiritual, historical and cultural significance for India's populace. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's take a look now at other stories making the news. The Indian government-owned telecommunications company Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited signed a memorandum of understanding with Anna University and the Indian Institute of Technology Madras on Wednesday. The MOU, it encompasses various promising initiatives. These include courses which are actually meticulously crafted to enhance the skill sets of both students and young professionals in the field of telecom. The 5-day Island Tourism Festival began on Wednesday in Andaman and Nicobar Islands after a gap of 4 years. This year, renowned percussionist Thithakudi Harihara Vinayak Ram, popularly known as Vikku Vinayak Ram, and the Indian classical dancer Madhavi Mudgal, they are going to grace the festival on December 29. India's President Draupadi Murmu on Wednesday stressed on the need to organize more and more awareness campaigns to encourage people about organ donation. Addressing the 9th convocation of the Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences in New Delhi, the President said that due to the non-availability of sufficient number of organs, many patients have been deprived of liver, kidney and any other transplant. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. The raging bulls among India's stocks. And Indian Bollywood star Salman Khan has turned 58. And India struggling against South Africa in the first test.
Sir, try berry pulao. Too good. Good, no? Hey, why are you giving him such looks? Ignore tips and use your own mind before you order. Lots of people give unsolicited stock tips. It can be dangerous. Study the company and the risk associated. Invest only after analyzing.
सोच कर, समझ कर, invest कर.
Do you know there's an investor protection fund for investors, IPF, but if your trade isn't executed on the exchange or if it's some guaranteed return scheme, then even IPF will not be able to help you.
And what if your broker becomes a defaulter? Then?
In that case, IPF can provide you with compensation.
Where did you learn this?
NSE's website.
सोच कर, समझ कर, invest कर.
India that invents. India that innovates.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lin. Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority on Wednesday decided to lift its de facto ban on operations at Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings, Kashi Wazaki Kariwa nuclear power plant. So the nuclear watchdog, in fact, determined that now it has enough information to lift the ban at the plant in central Japan following additional inspections and meetings with the TEPCO president. Natural calamities and harsh weather around the world have been killing and displacing millions of people. Environmental advocates continue to raise concerns about the impact of global warming. Let's take a look at this report.
The world is grappling with a series of extreme weather events exacerbating the impacts of climate change on a global scale. In India, dense fog engulfed New Delhi. More than 100 flights and several trains in the city were delayed due to poor visibility. The city witnessed one of the worst fog of the season so far, with visibility dropping to below 50 meters on Wednesday.
As you can see, that entire northern plains, starting from Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi, up to Uttar Pradesh, are confronted with dense to very dense fog. It started in the early hours of today. Yeah, this fog episode has started 3 days back, and today it was the most intense one in the recent episode. And we're expecting that for next 2 days, that is on 28th and 29th morning, also we'll have dense to very dense fog over the northern plains.
China is currently experiencing one of its coldest December on record. It will likely have to brace for another round of scorching heat and an increase in extreme weather next year due to the El Nino effect, according to experts. 2024 may be hotter, and it could be also a year when extreme weather may become more frequent and powerful. In Australia, 10 people were killed after severe thunderstorms battered the country's east over the Christmas holidays. Authorities said on Wednesday that tens of thousands of residents were still without power. Strong winds blew off roofs and brought down trees in some of the worst affected areas.
Yeah, that storm the day before yesterday in particular, it took down a concrete power line. So it's the first time we've ever had a concrete power pole destroyed by a storm. That's pretty significant. That's unprecedented. Certainly the scenes I saw where you didn't just have a single power line down, you had a power line down between every pole.
A severe winter storm is battering the northern plains and upper Midwest regions of the US, causing travel chaos and power outages for millions of people. The National Weather Service has issued a warning that blizzard conditions for central South Dakota into parts of Nebraska Kansas and Colorado, resulting in difficult to near impossible travel in the aftermath of Christmas. In Thailand, several provinces in the southern part were hit by severe flooding after days of heavy rain. In many provinces, the widespread flooding affected thousands of households, and residents were advised to move their belongings to higher grounds. The Thai government has ordered the army and health ministry to provide assistance to the affected area. Rahul Upadhyay's report for TD India.
Well, in some good news, business cheer. In fact, the key Asian stocks, they went up on Wednesday, buoyed by year-end expectations. In India, in fact, shares advanced, tracking gains in Asia and driven by optimism that the US Fed is going to begin rate cuts next year. The Sensex at the BSE, it jumped 700 points and ended above 72,000 for the first time. And the NSE Nifty, that's the 50-share index of the National Stock Exchange, also hit a fresh record high of over 21,650. Japan's Nikkei climbed by 1.1%. The Hong Kong Hang Seng advanced by 1.7%. The Indian stock markets have been placed among the top 10 best performing stock markets in the world this year. In fact, earlier in the year, the Indian stock markets had started on a pretty bad note. The benchmark indices then rebounded impressively, pushing India into the top 10 list of the best performing global markets. The NSE Nifty index demonstrated strength with an 18% year-to-date gain. Bouncing back from March, it surged over 28%, reaching a record high of over 21,650, as we said, by the end of 2023. The Nifty 50 performed better than many developed and emerging market counterparts. China's Shanghai Composite Index struggled for the second year, posting negative returns, in fact, of over 5% in 2023 after a 15% loss in 2022. Let's take a look now at the sports news. And bad light stopped play on day 2. South Africa were ahead by 11 runs. South Africa scored 256 runs for 5 wickets at the end of day's play. Dean Elgar has scored a century. Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Siraj took 2 wickets apiece. India were bundled out earlier for 245 runs in the first innings. KL Rahul hit a century on day 2 in the Centurion Test on Wednesday. Well, Rahul scored just 101 runs and then got out after rain delayed the start of play. The Bollywood actor Salman Khan's 58th birthday celebrations were all things fun. The superstar rang in a special day with his friends and family and close friends. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us. You can do so on Facebook, on X, which was formerly Twitter, and also you can talk to us on Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.